to your left, you're going to see Savannah's most notorious serial killer. Hey, Cass.
Hi.
You were acquitted last week, though, right? Mostly. No, what I'm really referring to is the Savannah River on your left. Now, while the water might look glassy and calm, do not let that tranquil surface deceive you. You see, is in fact a swift-moving and dangerous waterway. Not a single year goes by when one soul or many are not lost to its depths. Over 47 feet deep, we have brought this danger upon ourselves, as over the course of the many years, the water gets dredged deeper and deeper to accommodate all the big cargo-ships that come in and out of port. Along our right today, River Street has engraved many candy shops, restaurants, souvenir stores. Back in the day, most of these buildings you'd see here on River Street would have been businesses servicing the port. So, chandleries, condo warehouses, pubs, places where sailors would come and while away the hours before setting out to sea again. Now, rowdy and disorderly, these sailors made River Street just as dangerous as the river itself. In fact, there are few people willing to venture here at night. Y'all are some brave souls on my Trolly this evening. Now, one of the warehouses in specific we're going to be passing here shortly on your right was the Tidewater Oil Company. Now, today it is the Old Harbor Inn, but the Tidewater Oil Company opened in 1890, selling barrels upon barrels of precious oil. This building on your right. And business was booming, but we always have troublemakers in the mix. Such was the case with a man named Hank. Now, Hank was said to be possessed by a fiery temper. Little thing was led him into a blinding rage. We all thought he was all bark and no bite till one fateful night. After an especially fiery fight with one of his co-workers, he creeps up to the attic to try and calm himself down. He holds up his oil lamp. He watches as the flame dances. The dancing flame in turn only made his heart burn up brighter. In a fit of rage, without thinking, he chucks it to the ground, watches the shards of glass fly. And the barrel will catch his fire. And another, and another, and another, and another, and another, until the entire floor was ablaze. A raging fire that made its way all the way to the east end of River Street. Now, thankfully for all the employees and employers, no one would be injured or killed in this fire, except for Hank. Unhappy Hank would be the only victim to his own rage, and he is still raging today. Folks at State Room 406 experienced this rage. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, your alarm clock going off, which you did not set. As you sit up, your nose is flooded with the scent of burning oil and smoke. Now, any sane human first sight of fire, you're going to try to run, right? However, as you go to make your escape, the doorknob is hot to the touch. But if you make it past that and into the hallway, there is no other sign of the fire. Just saying, trying to smoke off his former bosses. But we pay him little no mind today. His anger could do little to harm us now. God bless ya. Bless ya. Now, coming up on our left in a moment to make our way up the ramp, we're going to be going past the beautiful remains of Old Fort Wayne. As we do so, though, I'd like us to focus our attention on what might be below us. And no, I'm not referring to the thousands upon thousands of dead bodies we're driving over right now. Figuring out we'll get into that later in the tour. I am referring to the fact that there are also many tunnels that honeycomb underneath the city of Savannah. Most noteworthy goes under the Pirate's House we'll be passing here shortly. Now, the Pirate's House opened in 1753. This is where sailors would belly up to the bar to tell their tall tales of the seven seas over round, or 5, or 7. And while the main floor is used for merrymaking, the bottom floor had some more sinister purposes. When French and English privateers would find themselves a couple crewmates short, they drug and dragged unsuspecting lads through those tunnels in the name of good old-fashioned crew impressments, or what we today refer to as a Shanghai. But see, not all these Shanghais always went as planned. In fact, in one instance, they had drugged a young lad. They were prepping him to go through the tunnels when the police showed up in a raid. Panicking, they stuff him in a walk apartment, and they try to act cool, like everything's fine. And the police don't see anything amiss, so they leave, and the privateers set off for sail as they'd originally planned. However, as they're on the seven seas, they begin patting their pockets and looking through their trunks and scratching their heads. You know, they couldn't quite shake the feeling they were forgetting something. Or someone. They had left that poor soul in the wall to rot. And rot he would for nearly 250 years until he was found with scratch marks, with nails and bits of blood in the wall to prove that he did not go down without a fight. More lighthearted lighthearted case of this whole Shanghai. Of course, there was a lot of rumors about the Shanghai, like everyone knew it was happening. And one policeman went undercover, and he found himself a little too undercover. Found a little bit more in his drink than he'd ordered, if you catch my drift. By the time he woke up, he was halfway to China and a whole new career path. It would take him a full 2 years to find his way back to Savannah. Now, with the man in the wall, it's this spot, Shanghai, and possibly countless others that the Pirate's House coming up on your left shortly is considered to be so haunted. As we drive by, I want you to pay special attention to the top floor. They didn't have mostly storage, because a few people are willing to venture up there alone. Demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren paid a visit to Savannah. Those unfamiliar, they're very popular in the paranormal community. They were a part of the investigations that inspired our favorite movies, such as Annabelle, Conjuring, and The Nun. Well, they are doing an investigation on the upper floor, and they invite a local medium to come and help them out. However, the day of the investigation, the medium finds himself running a little bit late. He's hopping with one shoe on, shirt half buttoned. He calls a friend of his. Where is that coming from? Cool. Sometimes you just gotta break for a dance party, right? So here for it. I thought I was going crazy because like I don't see a source and it just keeps following us. Anyways. So he's hopping with one shoe on, shirt half buttoned. He calls a friend of his to race him to the Pirate's House, and he pulls up. And immediately he looks up to the top floor and he sees 3 figures staring down at him through the window. Thinking they'd started without him, he rushes in and finds the faces of Ed and Lorraine Warren waiting for him like he thought, but on the bottom floor. You see, the manager of the Pirate's House had found herself too running late that evening. She had not yet gotten there to unlock the always locked and usually forbidden upstairs floor. So it certainly wasn't them staring down at Savannah that evening. Now, as many stories as there are on the upper floor, there are far more in the basement where all those Shanghais took place. And one waiter working at the Pirate's House decided he had heard enough stories for himself and he needed to go see it for himself. So one day during a shift, he sneaks off and begins walking around the bottom tunnels. His adventure gets stopped short by a tall, immovable wall of rubble. Disappointed, he goes to make his way back, but he hears voices rounding the corner. Not thinking it's his managers coming to reprimand him, he pushes himself up against the wall to hide and he holds his breath. But very quickly, one pair of footsteps turns into 2, turns into 3, turns into 4, turns into 5. He reports seeing 5 men dressed in 19th century clothing round the corner. He said they are laughing, carrying on, carrying an unconscious body, you know the works. They seemingly didn't notice him as they walked right past him and into that wall of rubble. Needless to say, poor guy got his fill of stories that he wanted, and even more, and he would put in his 2 weeks that evening. And I'm hoping I can give y'all a decent full of stories tonight. Now, the fun thing about ghost stories is a lot of them are rooted in oral tradition, meaning they're passed down as I'm giving y'all stories this evening. But the thing about oral tradition is as the stories go through generation and generation and generation, they can begin taking some wildly diverging paths. And when it comes to the story of Anna and a 1790, and I'm about to tell you about, hers has faded into legend far more than most. Some say she was a bride brought as an arranged marriage. Others say she was a barmaid, fell in love with a sailor with cruel intentions. Even others say she was here on vacation and found her husband having an affair. Either way, all the stories seem to end the same way. She either jumps, falls, or is pushed out of the window of the 1790. Like I said, it gets mixed up a little bit, so we don't know for a fact that her name is still Anna, even. We call her that for lack of a better name. But pop quiz as we're driving around. Can anyone guess when the 1790 was completed? 1790, brilliant guesses. Gold star for the evening. But it was actually completed in 1820. There's a tavern in it. It's going to be this mint green building coming up on your left. Now as we drive by, I'm going to ask everyone to look to the top floor, the 5th window. We might end up seeing a friend of mine tonight. Once again, that top floor, 5th window, everyone wave and say hi, Anna. Those on this side who may not be able to see, they put a life-size doll in the window. Not creepy at all, right? But the folks at 1790 put her there so we know where to find room 204. See, 204 is where Anna makes her presence most known. And she's by far one of the more playful presences here in Savannah. For example, one of my favorite stories. One evening during the Christmas season, 4 women checked into that room. After a long day of travel, they leave their luggage on the bed. They intend to unpack after dinner. When they come back with full bellies, they start unpacking. They all realize they're missing something very important. All of their undergarments are gone. So they run down to the receptionist to try and figure out this whole panty raid situation. And the receptionists are just as confused as they are. They are looking through the security footage. No one went in or out of their room. Now, it's through this whole combobulation that one of the ladies turns around and she finally takes a real good look at the big, grand Christmas tree in the lobby. So you gained a couple extra ornaments. All those ladies' tidy-whities on display for everyone to see. Not my meaning of white Christmas, so each their own. I actually had a woman on my tour who once pulled me aside, told me she was staying in that room alone, and the bed sheets kept moving by themselves. But Anna's not the only presence hanging around the 1790. No, she's an angel compared to the spirit in the kitchen. And she's now lovingly referred to Hattie. I don't know why it's lovingly, because she does not show much love to them. Now, she especially despises the women, and particularly the blondes that work there. The blonde waitresses that work at the 1790 experience their tickets going missing. Silverware, spice jars go flying right before a waitress gets boxed in the face. But fear not. Not all spirits here in Savannah are so uninviting. Some of them are simply uninvited house guests themselves. In a moment, we're going to turn the corner of the building I'm about to be talking about. Will be right behind me. We're going to turn again. It's going to be on your right. We'll be looking for a big yellow brick building. Boom! Love it, love it. I feel like there's a joke in there when 2 ghosts meet on a road. Which one goes? I don't know. Anyways, 210 East State Street coming up in front of us. English gentleman, Southern Savannah woman share an apartment here. Brace yourselves, y'all. Scariest part of the tour. You ready? Neither of them like tea. Can you imagine that? Either way, they'd wake up every morning at their apartment here, stretch, make their way down to the kitchen to brew their daily cup of whatever else they preferred, only to find a freshly used teacup sitting there. Now, they weren't used to the building, so they asked around if anyone else was having any weird experience like this, and didn't get any information, so they contacted the previous tenant of the apartment. It's a guy named Rodney, and he has little bad to say. He said he never experienced anything really funny, but he had to leave because his girlfriend won't go anywhere near the building. See, during the latter half of him owning the apartment, his girlfriend would move in. And one morning she wakes up in half of her clothes, what was on the Christmas tree of the 1790, and she makes her way down to the kitchen for breakfast when she finds Rodney's mother sitting at the table sipping tea. Now, as awkward as this already is, the two had never met. So they exchange some rather unpleasant pleasantries, and his girlfriend quickly goes back to the bedroom to yell at him for not giving her a heads up his mother was coming to visit. Now, out of his grogginess, he manages to remind her, "Darling, my mother has been dead for 2 years." See, when he first got the apartment, his mother would come visit all the time, and she was an avid tea drinker. She'd sit at that very spot at the table sipping tea, and that would also be the very spot she would pass away due to a stroke. Now, as lovely of a lady she might have been, the two did not want to share an apartment with a ghost. But what were they to do? In the name of English gentility and Southern hospitality, they wrote her a letter. And it went a little something like this. "Dear Madam, Rodney does not live here anymore, but if you would like to visit him, here's his new address." Now, would you believe it actually worked? On a single teacup gracer table again. I do think we should, however, take a moment to mourn the true victim of the story. Poor Rodney. Never able to escape his mother's love. Coming up in front of us is going to be to our left when we go by. Will be Colonial Park Cemetery. Burials began here 1750, ended about 100 years later, 1853, with over 12,000 Savannahans entered inside. As we drive by, I want y'all to take note of the fences you're going to see. See, those are not the original boundary of the cemetery. And when they shrunk it down, the only thing they moved was a headstone. So that does mean, my friends, we are now driving over Colonial Park Cemetery. Now, the headstones that got moved, most have been plastered on the back wall where you can go see today. And unfortunately, throughout the year, especially during the Civil War, a lot of them have made it into vandalism. However, I dare say some of the vandals are pretty creative. I do have to ask when you remain seated. But we have Savannah Gray, died by the will of God, struck down by lightning at 121 years old. Captain Jonathan Cooper passed away at the ripe old age of 1700. One of them marks the skulls of the Jolly Roger, and another one advertises brewery. I guess even the spirits need their spirit now and then. And those small little red brick buildings you see are actually crypts, and they hold all the members of one particular family together. But here soon we're headed to our first stop of the evening, the Andrew Lowe House. It was completed in 1849 by New York architect John Norris, home to the wealthy family of Andrew Lowe. Now his son William Lowe grew up to marry Juliet Gordon, the founder of Girl Scouts. Do I have any Girl Scouts on my trolley tonight? Past or present? Welcome, welcome. Oh, super important question. What's the best Girl Scout cookie?
Thin Mint.
Thin Mint? No Team Samoa? The peanut butter. That's a good one. Perfect. Well, when Miss Juliet Gordon Lowe passed away in 1927, it was sold to the National Society of Colonial Indians of America in the state of Georgia by the trustees of her estate. Now, we'll be pulling up to the building shortly. I do want to ask, while we're pulling up, we remain seated until the trolley comes to a full stop. Interiors illuminate. I'm going to be hopping out first. But above all else, I would like everyone to please remember that this haunted home is also a historic monument. So I'd like to ask us to be super careful not to touch, lean on, interact with any of the walls, doors, stanchions, especially artifacts of the home. There's also absolutely no food, drink, candy, or gum allowed inside. If you have any candy or gum in your mouth, anything else you need to dispose of, would you have a nifty trash can up here for you? Now, I know we discussed Cass may or may not be a serial killer, but I promise y'all, they have standards, so feel free to leave anything on the trolley you would like. They'll be keeping an eye on it. Like I said, take pictures. Take lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of pictures tonight. We just have to ask that that flashes off. Now, if you don't know how to do that, turn to the youngest member in your group. I'm sure they can help you figure it out. And finally tonight, know that we're being watched. Not only by the many spirits in the home, but also by cameras the dozens have employed just to keep an eye on things. Just remember to be super careful and respectful of this beautiful haunted historic home. But we have a few seconds, so I think we're going to show them the fun picture. So, St. Patrick's Day, there was a big block party coming out here, and I think it stirred up all the spirits because on 2 tours I had my guests get pictures of 4 whole apparitions. The craziest one is in the dining room. I believe it was Miss Mary Lowe, looks like the spitting image of her. I just cracked a joke. She looks up, she laughs. It's not even just a picture, it's a live photo. But she looks up, laughs, and darts away, and give me like 2 awkward long seconds to find it. I did not favorite it. Why did I not favorite it? That would have been the smart thing to do. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. For a second, last one. Okay. Does anyone want to see a ghost?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, my friends. Up here, we zoom in. Here she is, a little black and white pale. We watch the video. She looks up, laughs, darts out of the room. Got that blue dress. Here she is, black and white. She looks up, laughs at the camera, darts out of the room. Oh my god, everyone's black and white.
Keep that, dude. What? I know, right?
Stand back with you.
Yeah.
so feel free to look around to all these rooms, take photos to all these rooms. Even while I'm talking, I'm not going to be offended. It is your best opportunity to see everything. I will just ask, be careful around the stairs because you see how steep they are. We don't need anyone falling down. Yeah, move around, take photos. Please enjoy yourself when it's home. A lot of good advice you can give dolls. They're terrified. Would you believe me if I told you there was something scary? All 5 of these bedrooms had to share one bathroom. I guess that does explain why there's a chamber pot in each room, but do you really want to use that? I wouldn't. I would have waited in that line. All these bedrooms you do see are named after the person who spent the most time or the most notable time in each. I'm talking about the 2 in front of me, leading the slowly red and white one over to my left, nearest the bathroom. That is the Lowe bedroom, named after the women of the home, Miss Mary Lowe and Juliet Gordon Lowe. In fact, they loved that room so much, they did die in it. Miss Mary Lowe in 1863, Juliet in 1927, looking out the window to Lafayette Square. Because of those deaths, we have a lot of female guests who stay at the threshold and feel a pressure weighing down on them. Something just pushing down on their chest and an intense feeling of sadness. If you feel it, just walk away or ask it to leave, and for the most part it will, but it has been bigger than that. We've had guests and guides almost pass out, and we've had people flee the home. The fleeing happened in 1979 after a terrible borderline hurricane was whipping through Savannah, and his home was boarded up to protect him. After the storm passed, 2 of our society ladies came into the home to put it back in museum standards. They didn't believe in ghosts. So when they opened the door downstairs and heard crying, they thought, oh, someone came in to escape the storm. It's past, we'll tell them everything's okay now, they can leave. So they followed the crying all the way upstairs to the actual threshold, the low bedroom, looked inside, saw no one. That crying was even louder than before. Okay, well, maybe they're hiding. They searched top and bottom, saw no one. That crying was now deafening. That feeling of sadness was so overwhelming, they just fled the home completely, didn't even do the paperwork they were supposed to. Just a few days later, when they realized the day they were here was June 17th, the anniversary of Miss Mary Lowe's death. This lovely blue room right here in front of me, it's the Stiles bedroom, after Mary's mother, Eliza Stiles. She came into the home to take care of the children after Mary passed. And she stayed in this room because it is directly across from the nursery, aka creepy doll room. It's the best name we got for it. However, Eliza's hands were quite full. She took care of the kids, but also her husband, William Henry Stiles. He was a colonel during the Civil War who got sick on the battlefield and then was brought into the home to recover. Back then, getting sick in general was a death sentence. He passed away in that room in 1865 of pneumonia, 2 years after his daughter and just a few feet away. Well, we had a housekeeper one time who swore up and down she saw a man in that rocking chair almost every day. But she loved her job. She was very loyal to the company, so we knew she wasn't making it up. Well, who are you sitting? Andrew Lowe, of course. I say hey to him every day. That's not Andrew Lowe. He passed away in England. And if he was here, he said it was too sad for him to be here regardless, so why would he be here in afterlife? She realized that does make sense, but she says, I'm still seeing a man. He's pale, thin, white, bushy sideburns. He's a very older gentleman. Probably the colonel. Older gentleman, probably had white, bushy sideburns. He was sick, he passed away in that room. It all makes sense. We believe he's still in there, rocking away the final hours of his life over and over again. He is very playful though. I will say this, he kind of reminds me of the uncles people have that tickle you, or when you try to escape, he tickles you some more. Because he likes to pull away with his clothing and cough over their shoulders. Very friendly though. All these spirits are, so feel free to look into the rooms, take photos. If you have any questions, I can answer them to the best of my ability. How old are you? Okay. You might be in this room, but you probably wouldn't. You would say that until you're 13, so you might be okay now. You also might be sent to a boarding school. So, either dolls or boarding school, up to you.
Which would be better?
Yeah.
Dolls.
Yeah.
Dolls.
Okay. At least they talk, you have a conversation with them. These bedrooms I did not mention, this one right beside me is the Robert E. Lee bedroom, named after the general. Also, if you know, his chamber pot is the most elaborate, because he deserved the best, so why not have the best toilet for him? The one furthest from me is the William Thackeray, he's a famous author. We don't mention these bedrooms because someone died in it, but we still get a lot of strange activities. So I kind of mentioned the dolls talk, which might be a good reason for you to make your way downstairs to any last minute photos. Follow me, we'll go down to the lower levels.
That's where you would sleep. Yeah, she Alrighty, folks, I would not suggest dawdling up here, for we see stragglers to dolls at midnight.
Go outside and then first I will look up.
I think might be on the top a little bit.
Alright, I think that's everyone. Welcome to the parlor room section of this home. This room is split into two by these sliding doors right beside me. The side over to my right for the smaller table is the informal, used by the kids who came onto this side, did their homework, or played the card games, and read their books. On the other side is the formal. After dinner, women came onto this side, talk, tea, have business, entertain their guests. The kids got a little too loud. You can close these doors and just block them off for a little bit. Wait until everyone leaves, then you can scold them. On both sides of the hall, you'll see a lovely lady in a blue dress. This is Miss Mary Lowe, Andrew's second wife, and one of our more active spirits here at the home. She is very friendly. In fact, she's actually very active. Because the day before St. Patrick's Day, we had actually your guest, your guide, was upstairs telling the stories about the mirrors. That mirror in particular likes to capture 7-foot-tall men with no eyes. She's playing her toward this. You see Miss Mary in the photo, a live photo, look up as if imagining that, laugh, and then walk through a man's arm. So she's active. And even one of these mirrors downstairs caught one of her sons 3 times. One of them, he had no eyes, but it was him. He stuck out and looked exactly like this girl's photos you imagine. Maybe at the end of the tour, we're going to show you them. No promises, but she might. Now, I love Miss Mary, but I do have to mention her husband, Mr. Andrew Lowe, in the golden frame. I don't have a lot to say about him except he is a redhead. So if you're a redhead, there you go. There's a redhead in the home. Also, redheads, when they get old, their hair does not turn like white as snow, kind of like that lady explained when she saw that spirit. It would still have a tint of red hair. So if Andrew did die at home, it wouldn't have been white when she sideburns. It probably would have been some gray, fake red ones. So even more of a reason to believe it's the Colonel. Another thing about this home, it does have a haunted object. Is that piano forte over there behind the door? Looks like a cabinet with some weird fabric. It is built that way to save space, and it sounds just like a baby grand. Or it did in its prime. Right now it's just quiet because we've cut the strings. Mostly because gravity pulls on it so constantly, it's pulling it out of tune. Meaning you have to tune it every 2 to 3 hours. Which no one has time for. We've cut it, it's just beautiful now to look at. Apparently it still sounds beautiful, because guests both inside and out will report hearing into perfect piano medleys. I would love to hear it, don't get me wrong, I've never heard it. But if it does start playing the Michael Myers theme or something, I will probably leave this house. So, that's all I do. In the library, and to be the business man, spend a lot of time in that room. Like for them, the spiral staircase of the us are standing under. It's called the butler's pantry. That's all the love for the home. Upstairs the bedroom, downstairs the kitchen. You may have noticed the door in between the styles of the bedroom. This is where that led up to. One went to the hallway, one went to the low styles. Pretty easy to go in and out. But we're not, because that's steep and well, yeah, that's good at the university. We don't go down there anymore. It's good as it's pretty today. What I will say, it does have a lot of disembodied voices going along with it. Most notable of which was when our former director was downstairs early one morning to receive last minute cleaning. He's expecting some society ladies to show up later today around 3 o'clock, and they're very monotonous. So they're not beautiful. He's doing a new thing, and they hear one of these front doors open, and some female voices walk into this room, go up these stairs, and have a chat in one of the low bedrooms. Okay, well, it's 7 o'clock, they're very early, but if they're here, we'll have a meeting. He goes and follows them, looks inside the room, empty. Now he hears him in the parlor room. So he goes downstairs into the parlor room, no one. Back and forth over and over again for a few hours throughout the whole home. He gets a little aggravated. Goes downstairs, asks his helper, don't want to sound crazy, but has anyone entered this home since we got here? You do sound crazy because these doors have been shut. typical. Maybe I'm just stressed, he forgets about it, goes back to work. A few hours later, the society ladies do show up and they have their meeting. Around 30, like they said, but at the very end, he asked them, were you two walking around this hall 7 o'clock this morning, going to the rooms having chat? They say no, they were even in the city. I'm not sure why talking is so heavy in this area. I would want to think footsteps with the staircase. That's obviously not the case. Even in the dining room where people talk, we've never had any instances of talking in there. Something completely different. So follow me so I can tell you more about that.
These like the servant stairs, but I didn't hear everything she said.
For me personally, I would say that anybody, I hope we can find somewhere out and about. A lot of our guests believe this to be the most beautiful room. I can't disagree. But I will say it does have a tendency to smell like cigar smoke. That's a very distinct smell, you know it as soon as you smell it. Well, we've told them, we've banned smoking in the homes since the 50s. We've cleaned the carpet, cleaned the furniture. We obviously cannot get rid of it. We believe it is a residual haunting. Because while the women and kids are across the hallway, men would stand here, smoke their Halo cigars and talk business. A home has played it over and over again. Like if the day was still new, it misses those days. That's typically what a residual haunting is. Something is played over and over again. Perhaps they want those glory days to come back, and they just reminisce of it. The spirits do as well. If that little kid as young as 5 enter the home and smell cigar smoke, and know what it is. They get in here and tell them the story, everything starts clicking in place for them. I've had a guest stand beside me, they in front of me smell it, I myself, nothing. Also never smoked a real cigar. Like I don't have experience, I agree this thing out completely. It is very strange, this home, if it wants you to smell something, it will let you. But you heard that bell? That means you're going back to the Trolly with your guide. I have a gift for you all. No more steps the rest of the tour, all downhill from here. Thank you for joining us in the Angelo House. Enjoy the rest of your tour.
I love it. I'm being attacked. All right, how was that for everybody? Fun. Good. We take lots of pictures. Yeah. Looks like we got some ghost corgi action. So if y'all get back tonight and you look and you're disappointed because you don't see that you caught anything, and this goes for any paranormal pictures ever, we suggest keep pictures for at least 3 weeks. Sometimes things show up that weren't originally there. I don't understand it. I've seen it happen. I've also seen things disappear from pictures before. But if you would all enjoy seeing the Andrew Little House during the evening, you'll be doing yourself a disservice if you don't return during the daytime to get a glimpse. They offer tours daily. Congratulations. Y'all are now granted an exclusive discount when you provide your paper pass at the door. But just across Christine Andrew Little House from lovely Lafayette Square lies the Savannah icon, the Hamilton Turner Inn. It was built for Samuel Hamilton and his family. A gorgeous, gorgeous home. Coming up as we turn the corner here on your right. Insert all the oohs and ahs. Now, a home as beautiful as this needs to be seen by as many eyes as possible, right? So Hamilton would host a lot of parties to show it off to all the Savannah socialites. Now, so many people were coming in and out of the home during the dark midnight hours, so he would employ an off-duty police officer to keep watch. He'd be stationed on top of that roof, rifle over his shoulder in one arm, cigar in his hand in the other. And this arrangement worked well for the men for many years until one night after a particularly raucous party. The family was concerned when he did not return the next morning for breakfast. Now, initially thinking he might have just fallen asleep at his post, they sent the butler to go and check up on him. You know, it was a late night. The butler makes his way up the ladder. He pops open the hatch, expecting to hear a snoring, sleeping sentry, or at least someone just awake. He's instead met with deafening silence. A scream catches in his throat when he turns and finds a police sentry leaned against a railing in a pool of crimson blood. He had been shot in the back of the head. The noise from the party that night most likely covering up the sound of the gunshot. And to this day, his murder remains unsolved. Now, whether sticking around to find out who done it, or like Mr. Millich, he wants to keep an eye on the home, it's no doubt he's still sticking there. One of the neighbors was leaving her car late one evening, and she looks up to the roof. Lit by a full moon, she sees a figure standing there with a rifle over his shoulder. Now, before she can fully process what she's seeing, a cloud passes over the moon, blocking the light. And when it passes again, the figure is nowhere to be seen. In 2018, a pair of paranormal investigators are staying in room 408. And they did all the fun things you do in a paranormal investigation. They did the dowsing rounds, the spirit box, all that. And they wanted so bad to stay up the entire night, but they were so tired. So the compromise was they're going to put on a tape recorder to catch any voices they miss. Well, they did not need to worry because they didn't miss this, and they got on a tape recorder bonus. But they report waking up in the middle of the night to what sounds like a jack-in-the-box being cranked. And they said it got louder and louder and louder and louder. So pop goes the weasel. Got a couple of you. Out of the darkness they hear a man's voice. It's almost morning. Needless to say, it was a good thing it was almost morning, because the two would not sleep awake the rest of the night. Nor do I blame them. Now, real quick, on your right, we are passing Colonial Park Cemetery one last time, so if you missed your opportunity to get a picture or video, now's your chance. And when you get back tonight, look up on YouTube Ghost Boy of Colonial Park Cemetery. There's actually a video of a little boy apparition running around the cemetery. So it's Ghost Boy of Colonial Park Cemetery. In the meantime, I'd like y'all to take note of where we are. We are now entering the original boundaries of Savannah. We'll soon be headed to one of the 4 original squares of the city. Wright Square. This is where our courthouse, jailhouse, and gallows used to lie. Built for our first execution, our first murderer. Happy International Women's Month, everybody. Our first murder here in Savannah and execution was a woman. 1733, a ship of Irish indentured servants docked on Hutchinson Island, just across the Savannah River. Among them is Alice O'Reilly, who was sentenced to work her debts off under a man named William Wise. Now, no kindly masters William Wise. He's a cruel, lecherous excuse for a man. Every morning before her daily duties, he would call her up to his room to clean out his greasy, matted, food-ridden beard, plucking out last night's dinner. He'd make her bathe him top to bottom, among many, many, many other unsavory tasks I will spare you all the details of. The only light for her during this dark time was her companion Richard, whom she had met on the ship ride over. And the two of them understandably quickly grow tired of this abuse, and they begin to plot their escape. Early one morning, as William is leaning back preparing for his regular pampering, Richard sneaks up behind the man and begins to strangle him with his own neckerchief, choking him almost to the point of death. Almost. See, Alice would finish the job herself, plunging his head into the pail of dirty wash water, essentially drowning him in his own filth. The two would be free. Not for too long, though. They'd be caught, tried, and sentenced to death by hanging. No happy stories in a ghost story. But you see, the sport of hanging was actually really interesting during the Victorian era. It was an art. It was an art. It was an art and a science. The lucky number was 13. 13 knots on the noose would give the perfect hanging, break the neck, But if one of the, I don't want to say victims, if one of the criminals was especially bad and they wanted to give the city a show, you could slip a couple extra coins to the executioner and he would limit it to 7 knots, which would take a lot longer to kill the person. Or for a particular sport, if 13 is perfect and 7 takes a long time, what do y'all think 21 knots would do? Any guesses?
Right away.
To give you a little picture, imagine a beach ball in a mosh pit. Clean off. But right before Alice and her companion were sentenced to death, she surprised the jury with an announcement. She was pregnant. The city stayed her sentence. A few months later, beautiful baby boy James was born. And just 2 weeks after that, he'd be ripped screaming from his mother's arms, and Alice would be marched up to those long-awaited gallows where here, in Wright Square, right where that Gordon Monument stands today, Alice Riley would become the first person in Georgia history to be executed. Her companion Richard would soon follow. However, he did go on a bit of a misadventure beforehand. After the initial sentencing, he would escape and be on the run and in hiding for months. It wouldn't be until the very day his dearly loved departed that he would be caught. My ongoing theory is that he had come back to tell her goodbye. At just 24 hours, he would meet the same fate at the end of the noose. Now both lovers are long gone. Alice, at least, is not what to believe she is. Many folks, especially women, have seen her darting around the square at night, asking anyone who will listen if they've seen baby boy James, if they know where he is. Now, apparently this is such a common occurrence that now when Savannah Police Department to get a call about a distraught woman running through Wright Square, they have a protocol set in place. Y'all want to hear what that protocol is?
Yeah.
They send the rookies. They send the rookies because they know as soon as they get there, Alice is already going to be long, long gone. I'm just going to let us enjoy the serenade for a second, guys. I need like my phone flashlight. Just like a song. Beautiful. We love a good karaoke night. Look at them go. Anywho, so Alice's is by far one of the most illustrious tales in the city. I'm going to tell you about a woman whose name is literally written all over Savannah. Miss Mary Telfair. We're going to be going past Telfair Mansion, which was built for her brother, and when he passed away, she would inherit it. And when she passes away in 1875, it'd be willed to the Georgia Historical Society. However, Miss Mary has garnered the nickname of Our Lady of Stipulation because a lot of conditions came in her will with them getting the home. For instance, the home was to become a house museum. There's to be no drinking, smoking, merrymaking, yada 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 of any kind inside. And the home happily followed all these rules. 1886, it opens up as a house museum, and all the others in tow until an art exhibition is being held. Now, I'm not sure if the party planners just didn't catch the memo or didn't care. They wanted to end the night with a bang. So then in the evening, they pass around champagne shoots. They take a bottle of champagne and they shake it up. Then pop the cork. Not the only thing to go pop in that moment. So with the roof caving in on the party below, we are going past beautiful Telfair Mansion on your right, by the way. Now, despite all of her rules about no partying, Mary was known to throw a party or two while she was alive. I'm assuming that's where all the rules came from. You live, you learn. At one specific event she was holding, she had invited a local actress to come. And the actress was supposed to provide entertainment in the middle of the night. She was going to perform a couple monologues from the show that she was in. However, I'm assuming the young girl had a little bit too much to drink that evening. And when it came her time to take the spotlight, what she did instead was a rather unflattering impression of Mary at that woman's own party in her own house. After that, Mary did not typically allow any female actresses on the premise. And this rule would be followed all the way until the early 2000s. They're celebrating the anniversary of the home opening as a museum. And to do so, they hire a young female actress to portray Mary Telfair. Other than most likely rolling in her grave, nothing crazy happens that evening. In fact, everyone praised the actress's performance. They said she did a really good job at respectfully portraying her. Mary, on the other hand, did not agree. The actress goes home that evening, begins to get ready for bed, and she's laying in bed trying to go to sleep. She's tossing and turning and tossing and turning. You know when you just know that someone's watching you? Well, she opens her eyes and sees none other than Mary Telfair standing over her bed and proceeding to tell her just how un-Oscar worthy she had deemed that performance. Now, on your right, we are going to be passing the Jepson Center. It is a contemporary art museum, also owned by the town fair. If you have a little extra time while you're here in Savannah, I highly suggest that nice little afternoon activity. But right in between those two buildings used to lie the Chef Dog Hen House, a victim of the siege of Savannah. During the battle, stray cannonball fired from the Savannah River blasts into the wall of the home, and rather than reduce it to dust, it got comfy. So comfy, it would stay there for decades. And we got so comfy, we started calling it the Cannibal House. But I want you to imagine, during the bloodiest hour of the Revolutionary War, cannonballs just like that raining all along the very road we're driving right now. October 9th, 1779. The French and American soldiers were attempting to oust the British and Loyalist forces that had entrenched themselves in Spring Royale just that way. However, we outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, outplanned. We were poorly organized. Whoever got that reference, I saw a couple of head shakes. Great taste in music, love it. Back to the sad things though. Not that Hamilton isn't sad, but back to the serious stuff. But we were outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, outplanned. We were poorly organized. When the smoke cleared, over 1,200 bodies lay dead. Of that 1,200, only 50 were British. Under a flag of truce, we accepted our defeat, and they allowed us to bury our bodies, but only where they had fallen. And most of them still lie here today in the vicinity of the Savannah River? Savannah Visitor Center. River's that way. So if you have been in that area, you will in fact be walking over their graves. Now that cannonball I mentioned, if you're interested, the cannonball it's still plastered in the wall. It's also in the museum of the Visitor Center, so you can knock out 2 for 1. But 1837, the Central Georgia Railroad is constructing a railroad station near the Spring Redoubt, and workers uncovered many relics shot and shell alike. They also began to unearth some more disturbing discoveries. Thigh bones, skulls, so really decompose they crumble at the touch. Some skulls had bright red tufts of hair, said to be dyed from the many years of being buried in the clay. One skull in particular had bright red tufts of hair on the inside of the cranium, suggesting he had been bludgeoned to death with the butt end of a musket driving his skull inward. Such discoveries, however, have not stood in the way of progress here in Savannah. As you can see, we're going past an construction site right now. Things and buildings and businesses are constantly being built over the battlefield, covering up any indication that the bloodiest hour of the Revolutionary War ever took place right where we're driving through. We're most certainly a city built upon our dead, but our culture and folklore, now that lies in our ghosts. Now, our earliest settlers here were acutely aware of their mortality. They recognized the spirits that they believed crept into their homes, wandered the graveyards and streets. And while our first citizens were mostly steeped in European Christian tradition, they also walked alongside those who practiced ancient tribal customs back from Africa. And this becomes interesting where the two begin to cross and merge. Now, if there was anyone who could best navigate the darker side of Savannah, it was Miss Valerie Fennell Aiken Bowles, direct descendant of Marie Laveau. She practiced hoodoo, which is a combination of two said cultures. It involves deep spirituality, belief in ghosts, as well as casting spells with charms, amulets, and potions dating back well before the pharaohs. Practitioners will be called root doctors, given the aliases of animals, so you'd be Dr. Fly, Dr. Raven. Dr. Buzzard was said to be the first root doctor to come to America. He was as powerful and patient as one. And after he passed away, being given the title of Dr. Buzzard was very honorable. And Miss Bowles will become our city's Dr. Buzzard after her husband passed and served us for over 30 years. To put this in timeline perspective for you, she did not pass away till the early 2000s, and she served our city as a root doctor till the very day she died. Now, our services are varied, ranging from protection to revenge. Revenge is a little more fun to talk about. You could just have your victim ripped by the hack, but if you really, really hated the person, she said she could help you kill without getting a drop of blood on your hands. This is what you're looking for. You'll be given 3 black candles. You'll be instructed to light 1 each day, fasting, and solely focus on the death of your victim. Supposedly the last day, when the last candle burnt up, your victim dropped dead. But I'd like to draw everyone's attention to your left. We are passing the Ships of the Sea Museum, and the cannibal house that I was talking about, right at that red brick. They literally picked up the house from where I pointed out, and they moved it here. I don't understand it. Multiple people have tried to explain it to me. I still don't understand how they moved a whole freaking house across Savannah, but it used to be there. But the building right next to that, that was the Scarborough Mansion. It belonged to Lord and Lady Scarborough. Lord Scarborough owned a hefty section of the port. Lady Scarborough was a frivolous young woman, and she would have him import her all the newest dresses from France, from Milan, from England, from New York, you name it. And she would host parties. She'd wear these new dresses to the parties they'd host. She would wear these new dresses to parties that other Savannah socialites would host. And if she did not have a party, but she did have a new dress that she wanted to show off, what would she do? She would call up her carriage driver to parade her around town so everyone could see her. Now, sometimes when you're driving by late at night, you'll look up and the top floor, there might be some lights, there might be some singing, there might be some music, there might be some people talking, as if there's a party. Apparently this was so crazy epidemic a few years ago that the Ships of the Sea Museum came out and made a statement. We are a museum. There are no parties held in our home. We have no idea what the heck you're talking about. Sometimes also when you drive by late at night, you might see a woman pacing out front of the home in an empirical ball gown. Seems like still to this day, Lady Scarborough is getting herself some new dresses that she wants to show us off. But her carriage driver probably isn't coming around anytime shortly. Now, Scarboroughs had cousins, and two brothers had found themselves in love with the same woman. Do I have any siblings on tour tonight? Any siblings? No. We know the whole sibling rivalry situation, right? Now, these brothers had a special rivalry. They found themselves in love with the same woman, and they decided they were going to choose who got to marry her by having a poison duel. Anyone here ever seen The Princess Bride? Perfect. So those who don't know what a poison duel is, it's really cool. The players are given chalices, one for each person, and someone who's not playing will slip a odorless, tasteless poison in the chalice. And the rules are pretty simple. It's very easy to tell who wins. The one who wins lives. The one who loses drinks the poison. It does not have a great time, clearly. And they did this, and one of the brothers was offed, and the other one went to reclaim his prize, and he goes up to Chessie Scarwood where they're fighting over. He pulls out the ring, he kneels down, he spills out all his love, and she looks at him with a single tear in her eye. Why, I was in love with your brother. Quite frankly, I think it would have made more sense if they just would have asked her to begin with instead of like killing each other. But you know, Victorians. However, we are headed to our second stop of the evening, the Perkinson's on Ship Chandlery. As I said early in the tour, most of these buildings here on River Street would have been businesses serving the port. So pubs, warehouses, and chandleries. Now I get the question a lot, what is a chandlery? It's kind of like a general store of sorts. I like to call them the gas stations of the shipping industry. So you're on the 7 Seas, you find yourself running low on something, twine, turpentine, ropes, resin, you name it, maybe even a snack. You stop at the nearest port and you'd find a chandlery and you'd replenish your ranks. And today the Perkins & Sons is a fine example of what's from an industry, but she has seen her better days, and today is more of a warehouse housing nautical needs that we've noticed for past shipwrecks along the Mid-Atlantic. Except for one item, we get to talk a little bit more in depth when we get that we got from the Mississippi River. Real quick, who thinks they're the tallest on our tour tonight? Who considers themselves a tall person? Pay special attention to that. Those hands. Okay, that might be this. Okay, perfect. Who thinks they're the shortest? I know we have a couple youngins over there. Okay, remember those hands too. That might come into play. Same rules that Andrew Lowe apply. Please remain seated until Trolly comes to a full stop. Interiors eliminate. I'm hopping out first. No food, drink, candy, or gum allowed inside. And we have the nifty trash can up here for anything you need to discard. Feel free to leave anything on the trolley you would like. Lovely Castle will be keeping an eye on things. And I do have to specifically reiterate, no flash photography, flashlight apps of any kind inside. And it's also important to know our second room has some sensitive artifacts, so I am going to ask that you keep your phones and your cameras in your back pocket in that second room. If you absolutely need them out, I'm going to ask that you turn your brightness all the way down. But with that, the chandlery is well and ready for us. Are y'all ready for it? We got 2 people ready. That's perfect. Good enough for me. Good enough for me.
Alright, make my way to this back corner over here, so if y'all would excuse me. Oh, y'all chose a perfect spot to stand. Do you think we can fit these 2 youngins in the coffin over here? Oh, you have some wiggle room, please. Don't worry, we're not putting anyone in a coffin today. But Justin are 5 feet. How old are y'all? 12 and 9. Perfect size for a 12-year-old, right? Change your braids, y'all. This is a one-size-fits-all coffin. This is your coffin.
your coffin. My friends in the back, it's your coffin too. Now I know what you're thinking. Ain't no way I'm fitting that little thing. So don't worry. We'd make you fit. Starting at your ankles, they start chopping. Ooh, those with broader shoulders, those are coming off. Now we're gonna cut any piece of you off that we need to make you fit as snug as a bug in a little rug. That's why there is a little hole carved for the face. See, if you're buried in this coffin, no open casket ceremony. Just your pretty face, because one, there probably wasn't too much you left to see. And two, it was, you probably didn't want to see it, right? Now that I'm making my way to the back door, so can y'all read to me what it says, though?
Private.
Keep out.
What does that make you want to do, though?
Go
What kind of people? Perfect. Step into the light, find yourself a crate, and make yourself comfortable. Would you look at that? We all made it back in one piece. That's a win in my book. Alright, well, it won't be too much longer until I leave you where I found you. But until then, we still have time for a couple more stories, so settle in. Now, the question y'all came to get answered tonight: how is Savannah the most haunted city in the That's how it's haunted. How's Savannah the most haunted city in the United States of America? Well, we here in Savannah, we love a legend. And of course, we have a legend to explain it. So this legend takes place during the Christmas season. A man finds himself partaking in drunken holiday. And as drunk sometimes do, he ends up wandering off. And he begins walking up and down. Oh, super important part of the story. At this party, there's party horns among favors, so he slips it in a back pocket. That's going to come into play in a minute. But as drunk sometimes do, he wanders off. And he begins wandering up and down the busy streets of Savannah until he comes to Colonial Park Cemetery. At that moment, the bells begin to toll midnight. The ringing of the bells remind him of the horn that he had taken. And without second thought, also confusing Christmas time for New Year's, he takes it out, takes in a deep breath, gives a long, thundering blast. Well, before he can finish, he's joined by a host of ghostly figures who have risen from their grave. Why, they think he's an Archangel Gabriel sounding the end times. However, disappointed to only find a devil out for a good time, they go to return to their graves. The legend would have it, once you pass away, names are forgotten. You're only known by the virtues you're attributed during life, and those spirits so hasty in their exit had forgotten to take note of where they've been buried. Therefore, the search will continue until dawn, and as the sun rose, so will the spirits before scattering out among our city, doomed to wander until the end times actually do come. Although it is familiar ground they get to wander on, ours is a city known for being ever unchanging, which might be due to a curse that was put on us many years back by a man named Dr. John M. Harney. He started a newspaper business, was quickly run bankrupt and forced to sell, but not before saying goodbye. On the last page of his last newspaper, he wrote a scathing departure to Savannah. Some would call a curse. And my name is Melody after all. Now what kind of melody would I be if I didn't have a melody to sing? So what better way to end the tour than to sing to y'all Dr. Harney's Goodbye to Savannah. Goes a little something like this. There because of our historic charm. Now, that was so sweet of y'all. I would like us to also put our hands together and give a big booming thank you to our driver, Cass! Woo! They did a lovely job driving us around the city. No casualties! Minus the parking sign. Woo!
No one pays attention to them anyways.
Exactly. Now, on behalf of me, Melody, our driver, Cass, the folks of the Antique Little House, and that creepy Chandler, all of us sincerely hope you really did have a good time with us tonight. And on your way out, any tips or gratuities you'd like to come up and bury in our tip coffin are greatly appreciated. TripAdvisor, Facebook reviews, and Google reviews are also open if you'd like to leave a message for little Miss Melody or Cass. And especially pictures, like that dog picture. Please post out there. Tell them you're on Melody Store. One final time, I do have to ask that we remain seated until Trolly comes to a full stop and tears illuminate. I'm going to be hopping out first. But first, I have some parting words for y'all. Tonight, we will sleep like we did. But not about that. At least not yet. Thank y'all. Have a lovely evening and even lovelier visit to our beautiful city of Savannah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.